All right, what's your one word for doing business with the government? We're going to get cooking in just a minute. We have a lot of things. Rafael Marrero in the house. We got a full deck in this
Yes, sir.
place. We definitely do. We got a lot of
morning,
folks
everyone.
here.
Good morning, Raphael.
Hey, guys.
All right.
There's Brian. I haven't seen him in ages.
Is nobody seeing this saying put one word for
All I
business?
can see is you.
That's all you
Well,
can.
I sent something to everyone, but I don't think that the participants can do it yet.
There you go. Participants can do it now.
Cool. 44 of you. One word.
All right. Trumpifying. There you go, Steve Kennedy. I was making sure. Hey, termination. I know you spelled that wrong.
I did.
Termination.
Premonition. Is that like a premonition you're going to get fired?
That's exactly right.
New word, Brian Hubble.
Brian got the Doge email, but he got it with give me the NAICS codes, and he flunked it.
Premonition. Yeah, it's a fork in the road, Brian.
Give me the NAICS codes. Done. Right.
That's wild. Well, welcome everybody. We're going to get cooking. We're going to be talking. Put your one word for doing business with the government in the chat. Matrix. I like that. We will get cooking. We're going to be talking today about how you can leverage the change and win contracts. Because I don't know if you noticed, Brian Hebel, but there's a little bit of change is happening. Just a little.
Just a little.
Hey, Dave,
At least in the past 10 minutes. Right? It's going about every 10 minutes.
Right.
You know, we've got your edition, Dave. The new edition of this book is going to be written by Dave. It's called Who Moved My Government Cheese?
So why did I get sent to HR when I said who moved my wick cheese? It was called wick. No, it was called wick cheese, right?
That's it.
It was wick cheese.
Well, in the hood, it was government. Government.
Government. There's
It was
government
wick.
and there's
Who
government.
moved my wick?
Government.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just
Isn't that great,
saying.
Denise?
I didn't know
Have you
about no
lost
wig.
control?
Oh my goodness. We
I
are
just
in
like-
a new age.
I just like
We're in a
who
new
moved my
age.
contract.
I'm just going
right?
to quote Steve Van Rokel on this and say, hey, we got to change, right?
That's it.
Steve Van Rokel, former U.S. I got to bring this back in. This is getting too crazy. All right, one word for doing business with the government. Pop it into the chat for us. We want everybody to engage. We want to know what you're thinking. We do want to get to know each other as well. Let me get my know each other poll up. Hold it. Sorry about that. Come on. Get to know. Come on. Get to know each other. Here we go. Get to know each other. You're brand spanking new. You've been in business for 20 plus years. Somewhere sandwiched in between. Do you have federal contracts or grants now? And have you ever been to one of these sessions before? We do appreciate you joining us today as we get to know each other. Set up today. With change, opportunity comes. Do everybody believe that? You believe that?
Absolutely.
Change is opportunity? You believe that, Denise?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And we can leverage that change. Hot seat questions. We only have 2 today because we're going to try to get out of here on time because I got another session I got to prep for. But the hot seat questions are for the panelists. Actually, I'm going to put this out for everybody in a minute. What are you seeing in the federal market? And what are successful contractors doing right now? And how are you helping them do it? Does that make sense, guys? You guys good with those?
Dave, do you want this in Q&A or do you want it in the chat?
Not what? What are you seeing in the market?
Hot seat questions.
No, I'm going to ask you that later. You're a panelist. Sit back. I'll ask you. I want you to talk about it in a minute. But first, we have a disclaimer. We're not affiliated or endorsed by any agency. You're not going to believe that, Brian. And participation does not guarantee an award. Can you believe that, Peter Timbus?
Absolutely.
Guarantee an award.
All
And we
right,
love
I'm
Govies.
outta here.
We have a former Govey here with Brian Hebel. I'll introduce him in a minute. If you have questions, oh, by the way, that means you can participate without purchasing from any vendor. All right, so you can raise your hand, put it in the Q&A. We love the feedback. And I do, ladies and gentlemen, have handouts. Hold on. I gotta get my handout.
Dave, do not mention the word handouts in the same sentence with government, okay? So, I mean, we're off to a poor start here.
Oh, geez. It's getting crazy.
It is.
Yeah, there is no government handouts.
Hmm.
They're the hand that you're getting is
The Heisman.
getting smacked around is what you're getting. All right, here we go. I'm going to put into here, I'm going to talk about this here. Hold it. I'm just going to pop this in and say it's the session docs. Can you do me a favor, guys, and let me know, thumbs up, if when you when you click on that, it takes you to, well, hopefully it takes you to the place where I can share it. I can't get to it underneath of my Zoom thing. Here we go. Again, it looks like something like this. Everybody got it? We're good to go?
Yep.
Now, I did something unique for today. I did what? Quick reference sheet is no longer available. What in the world? That's working. Where is the quick reference sheet? I got to find out about. I'm going to get you the quick reference sheet too, because that was something I worked hard on.
Did
So I
you
wanna
get a
make sure
government
everybody gets it.
contract for that, an award? Maybe they might have canceled it.
Can you get to the quick reference sheet?
I can. I think that's what I have.
Yeah, see if you can download that. Can you get to it?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I can't get to it either. I'm going to have Araya put it back. It isn't working. All right, good there. All right, cool. Well, that'll get in there in a minute. Well, that's why we do this. Now you know it's live. This is not AI. I appreciate that, Brett and Peggy and Hassan. All right, cool. All right, we're going to get that for you. It'll be there in a few minutes. As soon as it gets popped up, I'll let you know. We're going to connect you with experts because we're going to be discussing what works with shameless plugs. And I got a bunch of them in here for everybody that's here. A bunch of shameless plugs, starting with Sam Radar. You will see a whole bunch of Sam Radar shameless plugs for our sponsors and our partners. First shameless plug is even more shameless than ever, Rafael Marrero. You know why?
Why is that?
Because it's me. It's double shameless. Today, I'm going to be talking about SAM.gov opportunity tutorials at 1 o'clock today. Now, my second shameless plug is for Rafael Marrero, because Thursday, he's talking about how to do business with a Trumpster. How about that?
That's right.
So there you go. And then my third shameless plug in a row is for Denise, because she is going to be presenting next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And I do have one more shameless plug. I got to actually call it up because I thought I had it here, but I don't. And that is for Brian Hebel, because Brian.
Dave, I'd rather have some hair plugs rather than a plug.
Okay.
Give me some hair plugs.
Oh
That'd
my
be great.
gosh, it is getting crazy. We're going to termination for convenience. That's happening next Friday, right, Brian?
Yep.
Doing that next Friday. All right. So why am I doing this? Why? Because we can't do it alone. And we are seeing things today that we've never seen before. And we're seeing activity happening differently than we've seen it happen before, but there is activity. We're in Q2. You know what that means, Todd Crane? What does that mean, Todd Crane?
It means half the year's over.
That's right. We only have 203 days left. There's no budget yet. That's also known as a continuing resolution, CR. There's contract shakeups. Are we going to talk about that a little bit today, Brian?
Yeah, we can talk about it. You say the word.
Yep, I'll tell you. We'll get you cooking. And we also have grant shakeups, don't we, Denise B. Lawrence?
Oh, we do.
Oh, we do. And we have federal employees that are really kind of quaking. But we do see contracts still happen, 185,000 contracts in February, we're $12.5 billion. So money is still still flowing. It's changing though. So we're going to talk about that. And this is why it is so important to have real-time monitoring. Because guess what? Even today, 96% still not hitting SAM.gov. And federal agencies, I'm telling you, the unprecedented change that's happening on them is putting them into a place where everybody's just got to show progress to keep their jobs. This is new, right? Right, Todd? You're a former Fed, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you used to get into it for stability, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I did it while I was in the military, so that's a different kind of stability. But the government employees, that was the big draw, right? If you wanted to make money, you went in as a contractor. But if you want that stability, you went in as a civilian.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree with that, Todd.
That's
why I worked that's why I worked there for 34 years, just for that reason, stability,
Yeah.
Stability. And now it's just as stable as ever, right, Brian?
Well, you don't know. Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know.
Nobody knows.
Hey, let's try these session docs again and tell me whether or not you can get to to that handout for the quick reference sheet. Let's make sure that works. She says it's working. I'll make sure it does. All
But I
right.
think you had a mixed reaction in the chat before, so
Oh, well, that's because I was asking if the link worked, but really I went. All right, works there, Britt. There we go,
Yeah.
Keith. All right, we're in good shape. We're in good shape. Good shape. All right. So real quick, as I'm setting this up, all this data. This is I do have a February 2025 spending report. This is the latest one before. This is year to date up until February, and then I have one for February. So it's kind of like a separation on, I don't know, something happened on January 20th, and I just want to just put this out. But I want to show you something.
Hey,
This
Dave.
is the number of contracts, but offers received, right? You know what that means, right, Brian? You have this many offers received, and you just love getting 150 contractors responding, right, Brian?
Like competition, just not too much of it.
That's right. And look at this. This is the truth. All right. 81% of the contracts, 60% of the dollars, no competition.
Yeah, the file still isn't working, dude.
What's that?
the file's not working.
Still can't open it. No.
Can't open it. All right.
Mm-mm.
Can you resave?
Can you just drop it in the chat
I can't.
for now?
I don't know. Not here. Ruby says it opens just fine. So you guys, I don't know what you're talking about.
The special people. Aha.
Ruby's a special person.
Yep.
Some are
Dang it,
more
I got
special than
demoted.
others, Denise.
I know.
All right. So, then my question is, did you know this? Did you know that 81% and 60% of the contracts, no competition? How about this? 90% of the contracts, 5 or fewer. I'm and 93% of the dollars, 5 or fewer. I call that a short list. Did you know this? And if you didn't know it, my question is, where do you want to spend your time? You want to spend your time where all the competition is, or do you want to spend your time on focusing on 5 or fewer? Here's the dirty little secrets. If you look at the 2024 final spending report, 143,000 contracts and 7.3 hit FPDS. That's a delta. You like that delta sign I got there, Brian?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm advanced. 7.1 million and change. That's why we built Sam Radar. And I got another question. Let me go back here. Let me end this poll. And I'm going to find out if you knew about the 98%. Did you know about the 98%? Yes? You want some? Or you knew something was missing, but you didn't really think it was 98%? Or maybe it's the first time you're hearing about it. Or maybe you don't even believe me at all. And I was just showing you government, two different government systems, right, Brian? SAM.gov and FPDS. We know a little bit about those, right?
Yep.
And this, oh, by the way, is what happened in just this February, right? Just the snapshot between February 1st and February 28th. Now, it's a little abbreviated because we lost a day or two because of February, but we have 184,000 contracts, $12.5 billion, and you can see right here, still, most of it's not hitting SAM.gov. And that's why
They are still obligating money, though, aren't they?
they are. They're still obligating money. 96% is not hitting. And this is why we have to monitor contract activity on FPDS. We have to watch that. Then we can engage, and then we can build relationships. Because I don't care what anybody says, Sally White. People still buy from people they like. And then we have to influence the process. We want to influence the entire process. Get our sticky little fingers on that scope of work, right? Right, Todd Crane?
Absolutely.
We want to get our
You don't want it to favor. You don't want the statement of work to favor your competitor.
Absolutely. It already does. If you're not touching it, your competitor is, right?
Yep.
Then we can minimize the competition because Brian likes competition, just not too much. And so we can win. So we can win what? That's my question. Win what? The shortlisted opportunities. We need to get ourselves injected into the conversation. And in order to do that, we got to get to the contracting officers. Sometimes they're COs, sometimes they're KOs, because COs in DOD means what, Todd Crane?
Commanding officer.
Commanding officer. And a KO is not a commanding officer.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, I'm going to put that in there right there. So Sam Radar code, you go to Sam Radar, use the code 10% attendee. I'm going to say this right here, 10% attendee. I can't type and talk at the same time. And you can save 10% on the first 3 months. All right, let's get to it. We're getting into it. The hot seat questions for today. What are you seeing in the market? And what are successful contractors doing right now, and how are you helping them? All right, so the question number one. Brian, let's talk about what you got. Now, you've been around for a little while. You have a history of you've been in the government, right?
32 years as a contracting officer.
Love it.
It qualifies me for something, Dave. I'm just not sure what it is.
But you did write a book. You actually wrote another book that's coming out too, right?
Yeah, I got a CPARS book coming out. Oh, no. As soon as Dave and I release the CPARS product coming out in probably hopefully next 2 or 3 weeks after working on it 2 years. Yep.
Awesome.
You know, Brian, I would say Bravo Zulu, but then you published it with somebody else. So
you,
I was going to
Rafa
say,
used to
well
like
done,
you.
Bravo Zulu, but no, he didn't use Bravo Zulu.
So Brian, you're connected. You're still connected with a bunch of folks in the government. In fact, some of your family works there. So what are you seeing in the market? At least something that you're going to be talking about coming up.
Well, number one, we are doing training with you next week, Dave, on termination for convenience. And I've had contractors call me up just asking me questions. And I just ran some data this morning, and there's been 6,435 contracts that have been terminated for convenience since inauguration day. And there's like 300 of them have stop work orders. So, I think what you're, and like I was just looking on eBay this morning and seeing a lot of DoD stuff on there, but not a lot of civilian stuff. So things are slowing down, which means it's going to get pushed up to the end, really to the end of the year is the way I'm saying it, So even like people are seeing terminations and they're seeing stuff coming out of DOGE, but when that T4C is issued, the contractors have 30 days to submit a rough order of magnitude proposal back to the government. And then the contractors technically have a year to submit a proposal. So you're not going to see all those monies deobligated. The government's going to try to deobligate some of that money, which they could reuse, or maybe they're going to be sending back to the Treasury. But there's certainly, just from a contracting standpoint, there's a lot of upheaval in the agencies trying to figure out, like at my former agency, CMS, they're just terminated some program management contracts. So I think different agencies might have different things. I'm sorry?
One of those was a big one.
Well, they were all in the
right?
millions. They're all, they're but not huge. But I think, depending on the agency, they're just going to be thinking about what don't they need, what contracts don't they need, and then March 17th they're submitting their plans, and by April 17th they're supposed to start implementing them. So I think in the next month you're going to see more contracts being terminated, more employees maybe definitely being fired or whatever you want to call it, or reorganized. So it's just a lot of change. I'm hearing about IDIQ contracts going away. Even we were talking yesterday, Dave, about all contracting officers becoming GSA employees, which I don't think will happen. So it's just a lot of upheaval and a lot of unknowns. But what we do know is the money's going to be spent, and that's going to be backed up, more into the last couple of months of the fiscal year.
And I couldn't agree more. I think to your point, the money, first of all, they're going to spend the money. They may put some of that towards the debt, but I think that it's going to be retooled and reallocated for what's happened out there. Sally, what are you seeing? You're doing these
Conferences.
These conferences. What are you hearing directly from the people?
So it's interesting. I just got another invite or another update from the small 8A conference, and they still haven't sort of got it. Change your name to Small Efficiency Conference or something like that. But so I hear it from sort of people just proceeding with how they're doing things, even though there's some comments about, diversity, inclusion going away, et cetera, to other conferences that are just getting deluged with people. I was at one at Sandia, and they had 700 registrants. Last year they had 400, and they had 600 people show up to register on site. So I'm seeing a lot of fear and people reaching out to groups like this, saying, I have capability. What is it that I can do? How can I add value? So even though there's fear, I see a lot of people leaning into what they do and beefing up their branding. Thank you, Rafael Marrero. Working on their websites, putting their LinkedIn pages, going to conferences, coming to meetings like this, to see what we can do.
I love it. So Peter, Peter's an interesting cat, and for many reasons. Just saying. But you've been in this industry for a long time, helping small businesses with funding because banks don't understand federal government, right? That's why I love Peter, because he has the ability to kind of finance a little differently. You finance to the opportunity, and you can lend to that, and you can talk a little bit about that if you want. But what are you seeing? You're at a conference. What are people saying to you, Peter?
Well, the last 8A conference we went to, we had about 160 different companies stop by our booth. And most of the talk evolved around what we do, and we're a little bit different. We're a game changer for companies. Like if you get SAM.radar and you can get shortlisted and you can identify opportunities, we don't lend on your financial statements. We're going to lend upon the opportunity in front of you. And that includes if we need to give you a financial support letter that would say to the government, should they award the business to you, you've got the financial capability to perform. So most of our activity has been on how our philosophy is different. And if you are a growing company, you need to be with someone like us because we're going to give you unlimited access to capital based upon your contract value. Now, it's surprisingly, the last week or so, I've had a couple big customers approach us because there's concern about the CR coming up. Because if there is a government shutdown this Friday, we continue to fund. You know, when you're with a bank, if your receivables go over 90 days, they're kicked out of your borrowing base. With us, we don't do that. We continue to fund. So we're getting some response to that, where some people are getting very concerned that, a lot of companies have, if they've got a $500,000 line, they operate right around that. Receipts come in, it drops down, they do payroll again. Well, they can't afford to miss out on that financing to pay the next payroll, because in the federal government, if you miss a payroll, you're in deep doo-doo.
So you're seeing it's tightening up a little bit, and that kind of feeds into your market a little bit to help folks get to where they want to go. Denise, now you do grants and you also do proposal writing. So between the two of those, what are you seeing?
So some of the fallout that's not really been in the news, Dave, has been with some of my historical arts and culture, social impact, DEI, nonprofit clients who have been impacted by federal contracting changes. For example, Booz Allen had a huge social impact DEI practice where they donated services to nonprofits, writing grants, marketing and support and resources. That's gone.
No.
So this, has devastated a lot of, nonprofits that have depended on large contractors like that giving back, to the community. The Kennedy Center had just announced their new social impact partners in December who were going to get all of these resources. Needless to say, that is not happening. So that's that. From the, for-profit grant side, we're definitely seeing some major shifts. And I'm telling, clients, if you're not in technology, innovation, efficiency, type of work, even NIH, we're watching very, very carefully, and DOD, we caution you, let's focus on that. Luckily, we had kind of done a pivot months ago around not going after, arts and culture type for-profit grants or DEI, workforce development, disparity kind of work as an agency, but it's still very, very tough, and it's still walking into uncertainty. So
And yeah, and with that uncertainty comes opportunities, and it's just
Absolutely.
to your point, pivoting, reframing in Doge and efficiency. I love that. How about you, Todd Crane? You have an interesting play because I don't think it matters whether it's a left or right or Democrat, Republican, or what. This cybersecurity is going to everything about CMMC, which you're an expert in CMMC. You've done some briefings on that. Give folks just a tidbit of what you do to help in that aspect and what you're seeing out there.
Yeah, so while it's a very bipartisan issue, I will say that this administration has really doubled down. For those that are familiar, Secretary Hegseth reappointed Katie Arrington to the DoD CISO, which is she's regarded by many as the chief architect or at least chief evangelist of CMMC. Really a great lady.
Yes,
And so that shows that they're really committing to this whole cybersecurity thing in CMMC. And so we're seeing that it's still pushing along. We're expecting to, it should start showing up here on contracts in a couple months, with December being the cutoff that no new awards will be made if you're, for those that are, it's required on. And that's for DoD contracts. We're also seeing the new FAR CUI rule, which will help in certain ways, but also make things more.
What's CUI for everybody? Who
CUI is controlled unclassified information. It's previously known as sensitive but unclassed FOUO. If you have any FOUO information, if you have any Privacy Act or HIPAA data, that's all wrapped into this one term. In fact, it goes back, honestly, all the way back to Obama. Obama was the one that created it via EO. But yeah, it's coming. They're finally, this administration is really pushing for that too, to make sure that everybody is safeguarding government data. Because they don't want the hackers to get it. They don't want the Chinese, the people's, the CCP to get it. They don't want any of that stuff. So,
yeah, I agree. So, and you help folks get ready for CMMC. So, if you're in the defense industrial base, you already know what that is, the DIB.
Yeah.
But if not, it's coming to an agency near you.
Absolutely. We're really more of a GRC firm, governance, risk, and compliance, and cybersecurity. But we do focus on government facing compliance, like CMMC, the FAR CUI, different standards like that.
So, Rafa, you do marketing, you do professional branding and marketing. You're doing a session on Thursday. Give us a tidbit of what you're seeing out there and why you're doing this session.
Well, we're doing this session first and foremost because there's a big need, especially now, right? I wrote a column for Forbes magazine that was released mid-January. And in it, we talk about the need to, how government contractors can thrive under the new administration. And now more than ever, given the high number of changes and executive orders that have been presented, there is an emphasis on best practices from procurement, right? On the procurement side, and a lot of private sector best practices based on supply chain, cost optimization, and efficiencies. What we leverage here are insane, right? An unfair advantage is the fact that, number one, we've got 35 years of hands-on experience working in Fortune 500 and the government contracting side. So I've worked at the very highest levels of business to consumer, business to business, and business to government when it comes to marketing, positioning, differentiation, and branding, right?
Yep.
And I've also been in charge of supply chain organizations, global supply chain organizations. So I understand the terminology, I understand the requirements, and I know exactly what these folks are looking for on the Doge side of the house. So I can help you articulate that in the right marketing frame and frame it appropriately so that you look best and you are most suitable for the new positions that the new framework that they're implementing across the enterprise, right? Across the government enterprise. So we're here to help you. And then so Thursday's session is really an eye opener because it helps you look at things that you would commonly not look at. Most government contractors that I know they're not as focused on the strategic communication side of the house and the positioning statements. that's going to play a key role now, because you need to make sure that you come across and drive the point home. So you need to touch on these hot buttons that we're going to touch upon during the webinar. We're going to show you how to clearly differentiate, how to leverage the 6 C's in government contracting to truly market your capabilities in the most effective and memorable fashion, right? Remember, I was the guy that sat on the other side of the table and evaluated vendors for a multi-billion-dollar organization, right?
It's a couple of different couple different reasons for that, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to have the fundamentals of marketing and looking like you belong in the federal government, but now you need to frame it in Doge as well. So I think that is absolutely critical. By the way, you did this last month and crushed it. It was great. Looking forward to seeing the updates that you have there. I do have a question for everybody. I put this up before. So which one of these did you see first? The tree, the gorilla, the lion, or the fish?
Where?
Do you see them? Does everybody see them?
Nope.
Yep, it's like the Bev Doolittle of the
Right. So real quick for everybody. So here, obviously, does everybody see the tree?
Yep.
Okay, just making sure.
Yep.
So these leaves right here are the ear of the
gorilla.
gorilla. This is the eye
The
of
lion.
the lion, and then we have fish down here. Pretty cool, right?
Yep.
And the reason I'm asking you is, did you see the 1,554 sources started pre-solicitation? That landed in February. You don't want to miss these.
No.
And that's why if you're monitoring activity on SAM Radar, you're not going to miss them. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
That was really good.
I'm proud of you.
If you use this code.
You're really up in your game, Dave.
I'm telling you. All right. So do the 10% attendee and you get 10% off the first 3 months, right? All right. So the question I have is, do you want to monitor pre-solicitations? Of course you do, because I just made you want to do it. and then, RFPs and RFQs, obviously, right? How about prime contractors and federal buyer activity? We want to pay attention to these things. If you want to monitor those and you want to use a real-time tool, great, because that's what SAM Radar is. If not, I invite you to my session today at 1 p.m. to learn how to watch SAM.gov. Either way, I win. How about that?
No shameless plugs here.
No shameless plugs. All right. So the second, as we're prepping for this, I want this into the chat. After you answer that question, there's only 20% answer in that so far. So my question is, and you can't answer, nobody on the panel answers this, right? Everybody got it? If we are not relevant, and Steve Kennedy can't either. I do have a question for, so put that into the chat. But Doc Mai is asking the question, any idea what will happen to set aside contracts and opportunities? Anybody got an idea?
Well, I don't think that the socioeconomic categories have been decodified by law. So, I mean, they still exist, right?
Yep.
Our job is to make sure that we can communicate and articulate our value proposition to the new people that are looking at the supply chain and the vendors, right? So that's where we can help. This is not before Congress right now to change the Small Business Act
But they already did. They did it. On the 24th of January, SBA released new goals.
Right. Yeah.
So if that's the case, then I think that they're going to continue having those.
Of course,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there you go. So here we go. Let's see who's got the first one. Here we go. If we're not relevant, we are by default. Stacy. Stacy was no, Leanne. Sorry about that, Stacy. I thought I had you. Irrelevant. That is right. And think about this, we have got to be relevant all the time. Because if we're not relevant, we're going to relegate ourselves to being irrelevant. All right. So the hot seat question number 2. Oh, wait a minute. I did see one more question. Hold on. Did I see one? Oh, Patricia's got her hand up. Patricia, can you unmute? Or are you just waving hi? Steve Kennedy says, educate yourself on what challenges the govies are facing and going to face. Explain how you can help them achieve their objectives within the boundaries of the new DOGE-driven changes. Steve Kennedy is a rock star always. Awesome, man. Patricia, you there, Patricia? Oh, okay. You lowered your hand. Okay, we're good. All right. So we kind of leaned in on this a little bit. And Rafa, I'm going to reach out to you first.
Yep.
But what are successful contractors are you mentioned it earlier. Framing within what?
With the right terminology to underscore your levels of efficacy or efficiency. If you're an IT firm, right? Just let me just put this on the table. If you're an IT firm, you should be underscoring on-time delivery, the amount of scope creep, percentage-wise that you've prevented, how you deal with change management, what percentage of your workforce is currently PMP certified or ITIL certified, or how many Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belts you have in your organization. I mean, address the client's needs. Show them how you're relevant, right?
So when you're talking about DOGE, right? So
yep, absolutely.
And the Trump administration. The terminology changed, right? If you were pitching, like you mentioned, Denise, if your business was pitching DEI, framing in DEI last year, are you doing that anymore, Denise?
I sure hope not. And I'm thinking there might be some new capability statement work for you, Raphael, because everything was done that way, right?
That's right.
And so I'm sending folks because I'm like, I can't write from that anymore in terms of RFP responses. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, like I'm listening because I've always thought in the past, and we've kind of said it on here, on the what you always say, people want to buy from who they, have a relationship with, and I've always said in the past, help them save money, solve a problem, and tell them about industry trends or new technology. But I'm thinking, like, for a contractor, like working inside government, and Todd maybe and Raphael you might feel this way, but I can never keep track of what's going on the outside. In fact, some DOGE has even stopped people and agencies from looking at the news. I'm thinking another way to reach out to them might be to be sympathetic to their situation, and send them some updates on what's going on out there if you see hits. But you have to be really sympathetic to maybe just try to build that connection a little bit. Because they're not looking at the daily news like we are, or at least they're not supposed to be anyway. But, there's so much going on every day that maybe to help build the relationship is just be sympathetic to their situation and their agency and whatever. You don't want to scare them, but you want to be sympathetic to them and try to find a way to reach out to them that way. That's just my point.
Couldn't agree more.
Dave will talk about Sam Radar, but I just sent an article that I saw, and it basically talks about the narrow focus that DOGE has made as far as their impact on the federal budget has been narrow. In other words, in the New York Times, it basically published federal spending, and it talks about the total group. The DOGE kids, they only claim cuts of a tiny slice of more than 750 billion contracts across the government. So there's a chart in here, and so this would tell me that I'd want to be on Sam Radar to see Lockheed, RTX, General Dynamics, Boeing, United Health, and see if I could get in as a sub to a prime. And I can only know what they're buying is if I have information, and that you get from Sam Radar. So it's quite an interesting little article.
I love that.
I would think just to log on to Sam Radar, I would think Sam Radar is really valuable, Dave, because there's so many freaking changes inside the government of where these contracting officers might be going. Sam Radar is going to tell you who the latest one is, correct?
That would be correct.
And if you do want to go that route, Sally, I would definitely, again, to plug Rafa and his stuff, make sure you have your capability statement on your website.
100%.
Right. There was a study that of people that listed a link to their capability statement, just of those, not the people that didn't have one at all, of those, only half of them worked.
Yep.
Wow.
So go check your DSPS.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Make sure it works.
Raphael did a beautiful capability statement. It made me cry. It was so gorgeous. It informed my entire brand. So good point, Todd, Rafa.
I will tell you, Dave, that we're doing a lot of, I mean, part of what we're doing right now is we're doing, I call it carpentry work, right? We're reconfiguring a lot of the communications pieces that contractors had. We've designed, I think, like 15 direct mail cards for different companies. They're sending direct mail cards to to contracting officers because they want to get past the inbox, right? They don't want to land in the spam folder. And they found it to be a very creative mechanism, and we do those. Capability statement and capabilities greeting cards, 6x9 cards, and even those that are some that are really, really cool in design. You should check them out.
Yep. And so real quick, I'm asking the question, do you have, if you're Trump ready, right? So, and if you have a professional marketing firm, because this is selfishly promoting Rafael Marrero, number one.
Yep.
And number two, he will be talking about this on Thursday at 1 p.m. And here's what the challenge is. So for when we go in front of a buyer, even if we have a capability statement, but if we just have a generic thing that we're going out, this is what the feds think we look like. You ready for this, Todd? That's what they think we look like. Now, the problem is that we think we look like this.
Yep.
So,
hey, Dave, I don't appreciate you using a photo without my beard.
that's right. And I didn't even ask you, I didn't even get that signed off.
Yeah.
So remember, if we're not relevant, we are irrelevant. And if we're going to engage, we need to engage the right way, right, Rafael Marrero? We have to put it in the right framework. We got to be Doge ready. Everybody's been saying this. Well, number one, we need to be relevant. We can't even tell them that what we got until we're relevant to them. And we have to help them solve a problem, which means Doge requirements that are coming down on their head. You mentioned that, Brian, being sympathetic to them, right? And be proactive, reaching out to them. And if we're not relentless and if we're not persistent, we're gonna die and wither on the vine. They're not gonna call us, right? They're not gonna call us. And that's why, number one, you mentioned this, Sally, real time does matter. Because if you're seeing these things on Sam Radar, you will be able to leverage what's happening on Sam Radar to engage. We're doing this right now. I was talking to Jerry. I don't think Jerry's here. Is Jerry here?
And you can engage on LinkedIn. I mean, people are still like all the contract managers, the program managers, all the individuals that I hung out with at conferences, while they may not be answering their phones, they may not be getting emails, their LinkedIn is private.
That's exactly right. I was just
it's really interesting.
Like text.
Sally, what's really interesting, you bring up a point. I've had a lot of feds reach out to me to want to connect on LinkedIn because I think they're worried about their jobs.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're reaching out. Like people that were never on LinkedIn are out there now.
Yeah. And well, you're not going to post a big post saying, hi, I know you can't talk. You can send a little private I am.
Yep.
And that's theirs for them alone. Yep.
Yeah, don't be a knucklehead.
Stay out of the politics.
Yeah.
Yep.
Stay lightning rod.
Yeah.
Like right. So that's another great example, Sally, because Sally does a lot of work with LinkedIn and helps people with social media as well. But we've got to get to a place where we're getting shortlisted and we can engage those KOs and COs because we never want to be this guy. We don't want to just be generic. We want to make sure that we customize ourselves and make ourselves relevant. And guess what? You can be relevant right now on Sam Radar.
Mm-hmm.
So I do want to, I'm going to end this poll and I'm going to ask the next question because I think we're actually getting to a place where we can chat some more about your questions in just a minute. If you'd like some additional professional help, I'm going to throw this up right now. I'm going to tell you who we've been talking to. Sally White does crazy work, great work in social media and LinkedIn. I think it was a great point you brought up, Brian, is that being able to engage these folks now on LinkedIn. I was reaching out. You guys remember Chuck Hardy? He was on VFedCon, the first VFedCon.
Oh yeah. Yep.
He works for PBS. He's the chief architect. I was reaching out to him yesterday and we're going to connect on Friday. So the idea is being able to be with them and help them get to where they want to go. Sally does a great job on LinkedIn and social media. Todd Crane, everybody needs to bump up and amp up their security. I highly recommend you talk to Todd, especially if you're looking for CMMC stuff. What do you do for CMMC people? You kind of like have a hosted or whatever. What do you do?
So we have different options, but so some people like more of a consulting model, but for most we do a managed model. So we take care of, your IT, your cybersecurity, and your compliance all in one package. It just makes everything easier instead of having to get. We found that other solutions sometimes get territorial, and so if we people wanting to keep their job isn't just a government thing, and so but we can work with anybody, but typically we like to just control everything. It's much simpler, much faster, and much cheaper, honestly.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's a control freak, just letting you know. But it's the right kind of
I just want to make sure it's done right.
Listen, so I'll say this about Todd. Todd used to be in control and of managing security for diplomats and the highest people within the Pentagon. So do you think he's a trusted resource? Just saying.
A little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And we have
I used to
Denise
have a BIDER authority for the director of intel in the Marine Corps.
There you go. I don't even know what that means.
As a Lance Corporal.
Okay. So Denise, doing for-profit grants and writing RFPs and RFIs. RFIs are a big deal right now. I told you about it before. If you probably missed them if you didn't have Sam Radar, because there's 1,500 of them. That's up, by the way. That's not normal. There's a lot of activity.
I thought
Hey, Dave,
so.
are you sending out on those RFIs, right? Because there's a lot of opportunity there, right? And now's the time, really. Now's the time. It's go time, right?
Yep.
So
Right.
how can people? I know that Sam Radar, you can generate reports and look at things in the pipeline, right? And that may be worth looking into, right? I guess you're doing that already.
Yeah, well, we are searching. Of course, we get lots and lots of beautiful reports from Sam Radar, and that helps. But yes, clients are mostly coming to us for RFPs, and we're saying to them, hello, there's a whole lot of RFIs, sources sought, and request for information, respond.
And also for-profit grants, which you are presenting on next Thursday.
It's still a thing, and it's still a lot of money being awarded. So,
and it's going to shift. And being able to pivot and reframe. You just frame it right and it all works. And then Peter Timbus does loans to the opportunity. That's what you call it, right? You lend to the opportunity?
Yep. And we can give them support letters when they're bidding on anything.
Wait a minute. You give support letters. How much does that cost?
Zero.
Finally, I do have a case study for everybody here. If you want to reach federal stakeholders and you want to leverage Doge. So this is a case study from GovBrief. I will end this poll. I'm going to talk about this real quick. Do you think, let me see if I have this where I can find it. All right. Do you have a solution for Doge? Let me see if I can get this up. Do you have a solution that will help agencies with Doge? So answer that for me, and I'm going to paint this picture, then we're going to get you guys out of here. This came from one of our friends at CMS, Brian. Found out about the memo on January 22nd. Feds couldn't talk to us, so we didn't know what was real. The last one that came out was this is still in place, and travel bans are in place right now. So as of 2/21, the latest clarification said that the freeze was in place. Now, I have a client called iAdvantage, and we were like, we don't know. We had a strategy session that said, we don't know what's really happening. We don't know whether they can talk to us or not. So I'm going to review this case study real quick, but this is what they provide: data collection and management of the data, right? They do a lot of work for large companies, right? That feed into USDA and EPA. They do a lot of work with Bayer and Monsanto, bad word sometimes, but I'm just saying. So the case study was this. This is the name of the case, this name of the briefing that we did. Meeting Doge requirements for data collection, compilation, communication, and reporting for project studies. The longest name that we've ever used. But we leveraged what? We leveraged Doge. We leveraged being able to say, hey, we can do efficient data collection. Not only that, we can enhance your effectiveness and efficiency of all of your data when you do it right. This is Govies. We're reaching Govies. These are federal project managers and program managers. 318 registered, right? 39 agencies were represented, and we had 185 government personnel at this session. So the question was, can they communicate with us? Yes. Can they join this? Yes. Can they interact with us? Yes. So this is what happened. We had high praise. This happened in an email afterward, but it was all the way throughout the presentation. Very interested and much needed is what they said. 49 responses with insider information. Now we know things about that agency that other people don't. And 20 follow-up meeting requested after the fact. What were they looking for? They were looking for demos. They were looking for, they said that they wanted to discuss an existing data need. They wanted to discuss a pilot. Folks, this is exactly how it's working right now. So when we look at what we can do to help people, Sally helps with LinkedIn. Rafa helps with framing. Todd helps with CMMC. Denise helps with RFPs. GovBrief helps you get to the decision makers and get the meetings. Why are they showing up for this session? Because they have a need. They have a need to meet the efficiency requirements. They're looking for solutions, and they don't necessarily have a current resource. Why? Because everybody in Doge is looking at current resources and saying, I wonder why it's cost this much so long. Have you just been, there's a reason why they call them Beltway Bandits, Rafael Marrero.
Banditos.
There's a reason for that. And here's the thing. Jamie is positioned himself as an expert. He was the presenter. And iAdvantage can help them solve their problem. They're getting their fingerprints, their dirty, grubby little fingerprints, Todd Crane, on the scope of work. That's our job, right?
Absolutely.
And you can see both of these on GovBrief.
Dave, what I really liked about what you did with him is how quickly you pivoted to do that. So like for people on the call, if you have an idea, talk to Dave and, just do it, because you didn't know what your result was going to be, but don't be afraid to put something out there, right?
We didn't know that anybody's going to show up.
Right. You didn't. Right.
But I had two clients that were crazy enough. I had several clients that were pushing things away and saying, we're going to do our briefing later because we want them to show up. I'm like, I don't know what's real. And to your point, Brian, we found out what was real. You can see it for yourself. You can see them there. They're also in the handout that you have. If you want to reach federal stakeholders, we'll follow up with you and make sure you know we have a way to do this. And this is building on everything else that you do. It's not an either or. You got to have the good materials. You got to be presenting it right with your materials, right, Rafa?
That's it.
Speaking of materials, seriously, if you want to reach out to Peter for a consultation, we go to a lot of conferences. I mean, we're talking like 10, 15 conferences, and we have a lot of people at the booth because we hand away free money. So if any of you have some solutions or you want us to share your superpowers with others, reach out and schedule time with Peter, talk about your needs, reach out with me, and we're happy to be of assistance because you're part of the Dave group. And all of us here, all the individuals, we're happy to have 15-minute consultations, look at your website, look at your branding, look at your LinkedIn, help you at conferences, whatever we can do to support you since you're part of Dave's group.
No, love it. Appreciate that. Join me today at 1 p.m. If you'd like to know about sam.gov, if you have Sam Radar, you don't need this. Just saying. All right. So what we're just talking about is being the SME in 2025. That's GovBrief. We are calling experts. If you want to showcase and show yourself off to Govies as well as industry. We had the other one that was virtual drug testing. We had 50-50 split between Govies and industry and 11 meetings after the fact. It was a beautiful thing. I loved it. Rafael Marrero, appreciate you being here. He will be up on this Thursday. You can check him out there. Brian Hebel, always great, my man. Appreciate all that you do. Sally White, thank you for all your comments and everything that you do because you're awesome. As well as Todd, appreciate what you're doing with everybody with their cyber. Everybody is getting their doorknob twisted all the time, aren't they, Todd?
Yep.
So Denise, always love Denise. She's awesome. If you have any problems with writing, she can help you out with that. Peter helps with the funding, as Sally said. Everybody here is willing to take time and work with you. If you'd like some time, we'll be glad to help you with that. And please come and join me today on sam.gov if you want to know about sam.gov. And we'll get to some last minute questions here. Hassan still can't download the files in the link. All right. We'll make sure we get that to you, Hassan. And Stacy wants to reach out to Miss Denise. We'll let you do that. Let's see. And Thomas, how we reach federal stakeholders? That is exactly that with Sam Radar. Well, Sam Radar does it on the buyer side. GovBrief does it on the other side. Can you make the chat available for download? I need to reference all of these links later. I will do that. We'll do that as an email out to everybody. Is that good? Let's see. What else? Did I miss anything else? Man,
If you want it, before I just save the chat, so if you want to send me an email to sally@echoluf.solutions, I can send it to you within a couple minutes.
Yep, that's a good idea.
You desperately need it right now, and you're compulsive like me.
Let's see. Is there any expectation of state and local contracts becoming more relevant for small business than federal contracts? Great question. I don't know about that. I know that things are going to be, if you're looking at certain types of contracts, they're going to go state and local through the grant process, right, Denise?
That's it.
And Dave, Sandy Coomer needs the link for this afternoon session, please, if you can pop it in.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Cool.
I will do that.
You're getting a lot of thank yous. At one time, we had 80 people on here. So,
Yeah,
Great.
this is good.
yeah, very good.
Here's
Very
the
good.
link to the session for today. Ba-boom. You got it?
And
All right.
I just also threw that file in the chat that people have access issues for.
For
The
you,
quick
how did you do
reference
that?
sheet. Magic.
Just went to the website.
Yeah, I just downloaded it and
Yeah.
dropped it in
And
there.
it lets you attach it?
Yeah.
I must need special permissions from Todd.
That's
Crane to
it.
do that.
I figured it out.
All right.
How's the man?
Awesome, guys. Any last minute questions before we jump? Any updates on which set asides are going away? Mark, any thoughts on that? I don't think that they're going to go away. I think they may be revamped and they may be pushed towards the prime. Anybody else?
I think we're gonna see kind of a push at the end of the year, right? When because nobody's paying attention right now, but it's still part of the acquisition process. So unless Congress acts, they're gonna have to correct, and so there might be a push, come September to get more stuff on contract. They also, like you said, might push it to the primes.
Yep. I'm hoping that they give SBA some stick authority, right, Rafa, so they can smack around the primes that haven't been meeting their small business.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Big leather glove. Whap. Yeah.
That's right.
I think with some of the stuff that Doge is doing as far as looking at, some of these grants for these, was it non-government NGOs?
Yes.
I think they're wanting to put more teeth and stuff all around. And so, I think that'll also benefit SBA on that.
Yeah. The key is to be ready, not to wait, be in
And move.
position. Yeah, so you can move. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And move. One thing I learned about the what I just did for the Doge recap for the briefings we did is if you don't move, you're gonna lose. You gotta move. You gotta press.
Yeah, press.
And I found that incredible. I just couldn't believe it when it happened. I was so psyched. As soon as we started getting signups, I was like, we need to tell people that they can come to those. Well, there you go. All right, guys, we'll get you out of here at 12 o'clock. Thank you very much. Rafael Marrero, you're awesome. Sally White, Todd Crane, Denise
Thank
Lawrence,
you.
Peter Timbus, and Brian Hebel, who disappeared. I don't know where he went, but we'll thank him
Thank you.
anyway. Thanks for joining us. Did I miss anybody? I got everybody, right?
You did.
All right, you guys are awesome. I'll
Thanks.
see you guys. Appreciate you guys joining us.